Talk to Element. Entry team. Status of the active shooter threat is currently unknown. Move in and secure the area quickly.
I want you.
Hey guys. So I recently got really into Ready or Not, and it is one of my favorite games at this point. I know the last best tactical shooter I reviewed was 6 Days in Fallujah, and I talked about Ground Branch as well, but Ready or Not has really proven itself to be way better than both of those. Now, I want to make a disclaimer right now. If you haven't played Ready or Not yet, I recommend you play it now, because there is nothing that I would hate more than having anything in the game be spoiled from my review. So I'm just going to give a quick little synopsis of what the game's about and, just tell you why I like it and some things about it. Ready or Not is a game that's kind of like SWAT 4 if you're old enough to remember that game. SWAT 4 was a tactical shooter where you played as law enforcement who would go on raids and missions where you need to arrest suspects, save civilians, and do all sorts of other arbitrary tasks. This game was a really unique game at the time. It was one of those games that you had to really work together with your team and cooperate, and your main goal wasn't to kill, but to preserve life, arrest people, and take down people using non-lethal methods as the primary way to take them down. However, lethal methods would be applied at some point. It was a very unique game for its time. And now we have a version that's basically made for modern gamers. Ready or Not is a game that recently released its 1.0 update within the last couple of days of recording this audio. And the game is a lot better than what I remember it being. Ready or Not's 1.0 came out in 2023, but the initial release for the game was back in 2020, and there's been a lot of changes between now and then that has really just shaped the game into what it is now. To start, the game has about 18 maps that are playable, and it has multiple different weapons, equipment, gadgets, everything that you could think of to play different kinds of play styles. Are you feeling like being a defensive player for your team? You could run a shield. You feel like being a crazy guy that breaches through the fucking door immediately? Battering ram. You want to check and see who's under the fucking door? Mirror gun. It's all sorts of equipment that is really unique for this kind of niche of game. There aren't many SWAT shooter style games out there. The only few that I can think of is Ready or Not, SWAT 4, and 0 Hour. However, this niche of game really does scratch the itch for a lot of people. The main thing that this game focuses on is taking care of your squad and protecting and preserving as much life as you can without resorting to lethal methods. However, lethal methods are always going to be used at some point throughout the game. When I say this, I'm trying to say that you are encouraged to use less lethal options to prevent against killing somebody, because if you prevent against killing them, your score gets higher. The more people you take in alive and arrested, the better. It's not really a game where you run around and try and kill people left and right. You could even get penalized for it by doing unauthorized use of force, which I think is a great concept. It makes you actually think about what you're doing. You actually have to think before you fucking pull the trigger. And that's something that a lot of games don't make you do. There's no consequences to your actions in a lot of games other than like friendly fire. This game actually gives you consequences. It's a really team-focused game. I only ever play this game with my friends. Only ever then. And the matchmaking's pretty good. You can meet some good people who like to take it seriously, but you might meet some people who run and gun who, in my opinion, make the game a little annoying, but I'm not going to gatekeep. They can play how they want to play. I'll just play it with my friends how I like to play it, you know? The story behind Ready or Not is you are basically just a SWAT operator by the name of Judge who has to lead his team into different kinds of raids. The single player is an experience in and of itself. It is crazy. You have to worry about your mental state of your officers, and you get to control them in a style similar to SWAT 4, which a lot of people seem to like. With the most recent update, they actually made the SWAT AI a lot smarter, really improving them so that they actually do things that a normal SWAT team should do. Playing alone isn't an issue anymore. It does get a little crazy with the amount of menus that you have to go through in order to look at all of the fucking different things that you want to make them do, like telling them to see to a door and then flashbang, then move in, breach, and restrain everybody. But it's still really good for what it is. Now, this game isn't an exact spiritual successor to SWAT 4. It is its own game that's following in its footsteps and following certain key concepts of SWAT 4, but it doesn't have everything that SWAT 4 has. So you're not going to see things like AI recognizing your voice, or an AI sniper who can shoot people from a window or anything like that. You're not going to see any of that in Ready or Not. Maybe you will one day, but at this point, at 1.0, you won't. The story is really, really dark, and everything about the story is dark. And when I say the story, I really mean the story behind the maps. The campaign is its own thing, and it follows a story. However, the story behind the maps is the big thing. I'm a big atmospheric storytelling or environmental storytelling person. So looking around each map after the raid is done is some of the saddest stuff that you can do. The game is raw. It makes you feel raw emotion. And this is why I say don't listen to the review if you don't want to spoil some things, because I remember going into there, spoiler alert, I remember going into the meth house and thinking, oh, this is just going to be a quick and easy like meth job where we, go and clear out a bunch of fucking, tweakers. We're just going in, kicking down the door, and we're just like arresting tweakers, that's it. And then I got upstairs, and then you see it. You see a little girl's room, and you see a little girl just laying on the bed, and you're like, oh God, just she's there, and you hate that she's in that environment. And then you realize to the left of her is a heroin needle, and she is overdosing on the bed, and you have to report that. That kind of thing, being in a game, is something that you don't like to see, because that's reality. That's not something that you see in video games. You see fake things. This was something that was based on reality. This is something that SWATs and law enforcement has to see, which, that makes me really respect law enforcement a lot more, It's really sad to see that kind of thing in the game, and it only gets worse from there. It's a sad game. It's a sad game. But it's one of the most realistic games I've ever played. Ready or Not is too real. It's too real. Because it's no longer just like you're playing a video game and shooting things. You feel like you're connected to it. Because you get to experience these things, and especially for the first time, it is a shake. It's like getting cold water poured all over you. It's a very, very scary thing sometimes. Something that most horror games don't even make me feel sometimes. Like, this is a good game for that reason. It makes you feel raw emotion. The fact that Ready or Not can make me feel such sadness and such grief in these situations just proves that they have done their job right. They have done what they wanted. They wanted to shock you. They wanted to make you feel like you were there, even though you weren't. Because at the end of the day, it's just a game. And none of it happened. At least, not to you. Ready or Not is one of these games that I never really thought I could really review properly, but I tried my hardest. If I was going to give it an overall review, I'd say the gunplay, 10 out of 10. The weapon choices and the modifications, I'd say 8 out of 10. You can't really modify your gun as much as you'd want, but it's still good. The atmosphere, 10 out of 10 easily. It's a very, very grim, gritty, real reality that you feel, that you face. And for teamwork and coordination, that's a good-ass tactical shooter. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's one of the best tactical shooters because in the videos that you've been watching, those aren't bots. Those are my friends. And we're all coordinating as hard as we can to try and fucking do certain things. I love this game, and I commend Void for making a game that makes you feel raw, unfiltered emotions and makes you feel like you've just gone through some fucking shit, man. If you like this video, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you have any other videos or games that you want to hear about. And if you have any recommendations for games that I should be trying out and talking about, just let me know. Any topics, anything you want to hear, drop it in the comments. I really, really appreciate all of you guys watching, especially with my last video. I know it was a little you know, but I do appreciate everybody for coming by and listening. And yeah, no. You guys take it easy and have a good rest of your day.